before this video even starts, you gotta check this out. Here's a little sneak peek. Things are coming along. What is going on today, everybody? I hope you are having a fantastic day. I know I am, because we made some major progress on these headlights. So we've gone through, and I kind of haven't been really showing the best of step-by-step, but also it's kind of boring step-by-step stuff. So please forgive me. I'm trying my best, but I want to keep you guys informed the best way I can with going through the process, but also not keeping it boring where I'm sitting there cutting a piece 50 times and putting it on, take it off, and that's just not what anybody wants to see. So with that, I've gone ahead, I've cut the front of the STI, cut the back of the Acura, and I managed to now aim the lenses pretty close. And I was having troubles where I only had it glued in a couple spots, and it was only super glued like in 3 spots. With that, I kept breaking the thing, and I kept having to aim it. So I just got over it and went ahead and got some fiberglass on it. Little fiberglassing tip and trick for you guys: felt. Felt is your friend. You don't have to have a whole bunch of fiberglass kind of hanging around. The felt is really, really thick. You can get like 4 or 5 layers, and it will do a very, very good job of holding on. Now I've got enough felt on there, and I'll probably throw some cross mat over the top of it just for rigidity. But for right now, it's holding it all together, and I can start working on finishing these up. I've got some trimming to do on the inside and the outside. I've also got some aiming to do on the light. And I also lied to you guys about trying to make this to where I could put it in any Subaru. Yes, technically you still can, but it's going to take some slight modifications. I had to use a hammer, and I had to use a saw a little bit. Thought I could get away with some stuff, but it's just there's just physically not enough room. And it's not on the side I thought it was going to have a problem on. It's on the passenger side. The passenger side's been the problem. These lenses are absolutely junk, need to be cleaned, but look at how awesome this is starting to look. I can't believe it's looking that good. Now, I still have lots of room. I've seen a lot of people where they have these. This lens still has to go back a little bit, but where this first lens is slammed up here, and that makes this lens also slam. So that means that you're pointing not in the right direction. You're off this way instead of coming out this way. So, okay, I just couldn't resist. Check that out. Look at how cool that's starting to look. Got the daytime running lights on both of them. They're just temporarily set up, but they're working. Now, here's a question I have for you. The car is black and orange. How cool is it going to look if that's orange? Actually, what I'd love to do is make that switch back and have that be the turn signal, be sequential. That's what I really want to do, but let's get the housing built first before we start worrying about wiring. So I got sucked down the rabbit hole. Completely forgot to update you guys, but I was really irritated with the last clip on how the headlights looked. So I went through and I resurfaced them all. They got saran wrap on them right now, so they look a little goofy. But they're also not perfectly perfect, because I'm going to be messing around with these. But I wanted to have them a lot better quality for you guys, so you could see a little bit better, because right now it just looks like a blur line, and it doesn't look that great. But we've got these done now, and we can resume. So I believe I was showing you guys what I had to cut out and what I had to actually massage out of the way. So we'll go ahead, now these are done, put these to the side. I also couldn't see into them to see what was hitting, so that was another factor. But we'll go ahead, show you guys what has actually been cut and what I had to massage out of the way. So here we go. We've got our driver's side and our passenger side. Now the driver's side, remember, was the one that I started on, so I had a little bit more cut out of it, but also had a little bit less cut out of it. Whereas the passenger side I did second, so I have a lot more in certain areas, but I had to cut out a lot more to make it fit. So with the driver's side, you can kind of see the top part where this is all cut, and then the Acura housing set really flush up in here. But a very good mounting point was right up in this corner. That corner actually touched, and then there's a prong down here on the bottom. That prong sat perfectly where I just put it in here. Now after doing it, honestly, it would be nice to have this side up just a little bit more, because right now when I put this bezel on, this front side is really close to the bottom of this lip right here. So in the housing, it's really close to this lip, but we kind of, it is what it is. We're trying to retrofit something that's not supposed to be in here. They're aimed perfectly, not perfectly flat, so that's more ideal. But in order to bring everything up, this one would have to come up, and that baby is maxed out. I'm not getting any more out of that clip at all, because the lens comes in, but it just barely clears right here. I also want to be able to hide this somehow, so the bottom's pretty easy to hide. The top is going to be very hard to hide. With the back, we've got most of this area, and this would be where the igniter part would be. It's not an igniter on LED, but the LED, I guess, housing module. It would usually sit right here. Most of that's intact on the driver's side. I'm able to keep a lot of that. I might shave this out a little bit to help with fiberglassing, but that's a trek for another time. And then this side's pretty much the same. The bottoms, I was able to use this clip that's in here to kind of as my guideline. So that set my front, and then I use the screw for the adjuster as the other guideline, so that I get both of them set in the same spot and the same height. On the passenger side, I had to cut out a lot more of this outer bezel here. This is where the mounting part is, and that's because there is actually a bar that comes down. It's like right about here that's in the way of all this stuff that had to be cut out. Now, I did a little bit of trimming on that bar to make it fit, but there's still enough to keep some rigidity in the car. But I had to cut out some because it hits on the metal heatsink right here. So some of it had to go away. Starting off with the driver's side, the only thing I really had to mend was this lip right here was sticking out. So it gave me another 1/2 inch, and I could have went without it, but it was easiest for me to put the fiberglass out here on the outside than try to do the inside. The outside sits perfectly on that plastic piece underneath there. So there's no room to add anything, and I'm probably going to add a little bit more for structure onto that. So I wanted the headway or the headroom to actually be able to build this up and make this a strong part. And with that, I wanted to do it on the outside. So that piece had to be massaged back a little bit. Nothing too catastrophic, just bent this lip back all the way up so we had enough room for everything. It gets really close to this bracket here, but the battery actually hits before this hits. So we should be good in that front. And then on the passenger side, we have the same thing where we have this inner bracket. I just needed a little bit of room to make sure that that one fit in there and everything was fine. But here's the problem child. So this bracket actually comes up, for some reason it's different on this side than on the driver's side. The driver's side actually has a bracket come back and up straighter. Over here, it's coming out more. It's out this way more. So this thing is back further on the driver's side. So I had to do a little bit of massaging on the corner, and then I had to cut out about half of the material right here to make sure that I had enough room to fit, because the heatsink was hitting on it. Right now it only has about maybe 1/2 inch of of clearance between this and the heatsink. So we still have some room to work, but we've got just barely enough room to do what we need to do. So here you can see the bracket is down below everything and then comes up, versus the passenger side where the bracket is much further out and then angles back to get to the point where it needs to be. You can see what I've cut off from here all the way up to here. So it's a 4-inch section, and I've cut maybe 1 inch deep into it, and there's probably 3/4 of an inch of it hanging out still. And I've just bent the corners back so I stopped catching my fingers on them, and then painted everything to make sure that it doesn't rust. But we've got a little bit more room than we'd had before, and now we can actually get the headlights in there. So the reason I'm really here is so you guys can learn from my mistakes, and that's what I want to get out there. My mistakes, the fiberglass takes up room, and while it's very, very minimal, even though it's very, very minimal, it matters. The SDI headlights are molded in there where there's very minimum clearance between lots of stuff. So remember that when you're going into it, because even the top mounting bracket likes to hit on this guy right here, and I had to do some shaving on the fiberglass to make sure that this had enough room, because the headlight sits right up on the actual bar right here. So watch out for that if you're doing it. I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully you guys learned something, and enjoy the rest of your day. If you're doing this mod, leave it in the comments below. I want to hear what vehicle you're doing it on, and don't forget to leave this a big thumbs up if it helped you out, and don't forget to subscribe. Take it easy, everyone. Peace.